Walter had always believed he was an ordinary man living an ordinary life, the kind of man people pass on the street without a second glance, a dock worker whose days were measured by the arrival of ships, the metallic groan of cranes, and the scent of salt carried in from the open sea. Nothing about him suggested destiny, nothing suggested mystery. And yet, one morning, something impossible happened. It started with a shadow. As Walter stood on the dock overseeing a shipment, he noticed a massive eagle perched at the edge of the pier, its wings folded with quiet authority, its golden eyes fixed not on the water, not on the cargo, but on him. Eagles did not come this close to humans. They avoided noise. They avoided crowds. But this one did not move. There was something in the way it watched him, not with aggression, not with fear, but with recognition. Walter felt it immediately. He approached slowly, aware of the power in its curved beak and razor-sharp talons, holding out a small piece of raw meat from his lunch. The bird hesitated, muscles tense, then stepped forward and took the meat directly from his hand. It did not attack. It did not flinch. It trusted him. The next day, it returned. And the day after that, soon it became routine, the eagle waiting, Walter feeding it, the two sharing a strange silent understanding that defied everything Walter knew about wild animals. But then something changed. One afternoon, instead of a single eagle descending from the sky, an entire group followed, powerful wings slicing through the air, landing across the dock in formation, their eyes all locked on Walter as if he were the center of something they alone understood. Workers froze. Visitors gathered. Whispers spread. Why were wild eagles surrounding a dock worker? Walter felt both honored and unsettled. Eagles were apex predators. They did not behave like pets. They did not gather around humans with hopeful eyes unless something deeper was driving them. Were they hungry? Was their habitat destroyed? Or was this something else entirely? The birds began following him constantly. If he entered a ship, they moved closer to it. If he crossed the dock, they repositioned themselves to maintain line of sight. If he took a break, they stood nearby, watchful and calm. It no longer felt random. It felt deliberate. Walter could not shake the sensation that they were not following him for food. They were studying him. And then, one evening, curiosity overpowered caution. Walter purchased a small tracking camera, the kind used by wildlife researchers, and after work he carefully laid out raw meat in front of him, sitting motionless as the eagles approached with calculated steps, their claws scraping softly against the concrete. His heart pounded as he reached toward one bird, the boldest of the group, and with trembling precision attached the device to its leg. One wrong movement and he could lose a finger, but the eagle did not resist. When the birds finished eating, they soared into the fading light. Walter rushed home and opened his laptop. The live feed activated. The GPS tracker blinked. He expected to see cliffs, forests, perhaps a hidden nesting ground deep in the hill. Instead, the signal made his blood run cold. The eagles were flying in circles above his house. Walter stared at the screen, certain it had to be a malfunction, but the coordinates did not lie. Slowly, he stepped outside, and there they were, perched across his rooftop, waiting, not at the docks, not at the sea, at his home. And in that moment, Walter realized this was never about food. It was about him. Walter stood in his yard staring at the eagles lined across his rooftop, their silhouettes dark against the evening sky, their eyes fixed on him with something that no longer felt like instinct. It felt like recognition. The next morning, he stopped feeding them entirely. If this was about food, they would leave. They didn't. They followed him to work. They waited outside ships. They stayed calm, patient, almost protective. His boss finally had enough. The birds were disrupting operations, and Walter was given an ultimatum: make them disappear or lose his job. With a heavy heart, Walter and his co-workers fired blanks into the air. The sharp crack shattered the silence. The eagles scattered instantly, vanishing beyond the harbor. It should have ended there. But that night, Walter checked the tracker. The signal blinked just 15 minutes away. Curiosity overpowered him. He drove to the address and froze. Eagles covered the roof of a modest house, perched along fences and windows as if guarding it. Walter rang the doorbell. A woman opened the door and nearly collapsed. She stared at him in shock. Her late husband Danny had fed those same eagles every day for nearly a year. He worked near the docks. He dressed like Walter. He carried himself the same way. Danny had passed away 2 weeks earlier. The birds had waited at her house for days, confused, loyal. Then one of them saw Walter and followed him. He wasn't chosen. He was mistaken. The resemblance was uncanny. When the woman saw Walter, she thought for a moment grief had brought her husband back. The eagles weren't obsessed. They were mourning. Walter felt the weight of it all settle inside him. He hadn't been the center of a mystery. He had been the echo of a man they loved. Now he visits sometimes, watching them circle above the house, loyal as ever. And when they glance at him, he wonders if somewhere in their instincts, they still search for Danny in the shape of another man.